now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Okay, good morning, everyone. What is going on? Happy Wednesday. I got to mentally think of what day it is because, of course, we are all confused about what day today is. Last night, I was like, it feels like a Sunday night. All the holidays have us a little bit confused. Blake and Aaron are off this week, so it's just you and I having a good time on Facebook and YouTube. So we're going to get this show on the road. We got a lot to talk about. Straight up. It was a long holiday week, and I took yesterday off. So as you guys know, on Monday, I kind of woke up late, and I had a late show, and I only did an hour. And then I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to take a proper holiday off, because normally I do holiday shows. And I was like, I'm going to sleep in. But here's the thing. I have been really, tired, and I have been wanting to sleep in a lot later than normal. Even this morning, it was like a struggle for me to get up and at them. So I think I've actually been sleeping a little bit better, although I do wake up a lot. I still feel like I have been sleeping a little bit better than usual. And I think part of it is because I've been, as you guys know, playing my pickleball and getting a bit more active in terms of that. Like every day I'm like, oh, let's go play pickleball for like half an hour or whatever. And we're starting to kind of like keep score now and run around a little bit more. So of course your exercise is good for you. It's good to help you sleep and all that great stuff. So good morning to the beautiful Evelyn. She's up early this morning. Diamond Princess is here with us. Season's greetings. Yes. At what point do you stop saying season's greetings and Merry Christmas? I think like a week out from the holidays, like a week after Christmas, you can kind of start to do safe stuff like take down the decorations. You kind of stop saying season's greetings because then, of course, it's Happy New Year. And then how long into the new year do you say Happy New Year? I say like a week. Like there's a fast rule for any of this stuff, but I say about a week or so. Good morning to Leslie joining us from Florida. Larry joining us from New York. Wee Wee's here, got it locked. Says, hope you had a good Christmas. I had a fantabulous Christmas, actually. Ate way too much food. And I've been having leftovers like every day since. So I said to my husband last night, I'm like, okay, I'm done with the leftovers. No more leftovers. And he's like, oh, but there's still leftovers in the fridge. I'm like, listen, there's only so many days worth of leftovers I can realistically do, right? So I'm done with the leftovers. I feel like people are still on holiday. I guess the kids are still out of school this week. When do they go back? Is it next week? My daughter's still out, so she's still sleeping in this morning and waiting for her to come knocking on the door, or she's going to just open the door and come in. So we'll see what time that is. Good morning to Dawn. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Chantel. Blair is here. He says, I'm here. All the best for the rest of the year. Thank you. So we got one more week. Today, is it one more week? Oh my God, 2 more days. When Christmas falls on a weekend, it really kind of throws you for a loop because then you get the extra holidays after that. So it's like we've literally had a 4-day holiday when you think about it. Saturday, Sunday, and then we got Monday and Tuesday off. So it's not another week. It's 2 more days until the new year. So today is the 29th. Friday is New Year's Eve. Where were you this time last year? Oh my gosh, we got some stuff to talk about. Miss Darlene, good morning. Lavana, you're still here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Miss Darlene, am I supposed to give you a mug before you go back to the UK? And if so, when are you leaving so that I can get that sorted out for you? Oh, someone said no video. Okay, let me see what this is all about. You should be seeing me as I'm seeing myself. So let me try this again. Good morning. Evelyn says 5 days after, then 12 days after you take the tree down. Okay. Richie, good morning. Good morning to Miss Mona. I don't know why you guys are not seeing me. Strange. I'm totally seeing myself. So you guys see me, I think if I stop the camera. No, we're not seeing you. So you see me there, which is weird. And then if I take that away, you don't see me, which is super weird. Okay, this is a mystery. This one has me perplexed, I must say. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can figure it out on the fly while I'm speaking with you guys. What is going on here? Let me just refresh my stream and see if that resolves it. Hold on one second. Good morning to Sir Atlas. Thank you for joining us. I've not seen you in a minute. Yeah, this is pretty bizarre. There. Now you can see me. I'm checking over here. I do not know what that was about, but a little refresh of the screen seemed to have sorted that out. I think everybody can see me now. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know because unless I have a separate screen open where I'm watching like the YouTube or the Facebook stream, what I see is myself and I see your comments. And I was saying to someone the other day for the Christmas prizes, they were saying that they had answered the question first before somebody else. And I was saying that, you know what? I think that sometimes there is a delay, a slight delay in me receiving the comments. Um, because again, my screen is like totally different. Um, so seems like there was some incident yesterday at the barber shop or something on Eastern Avenue. Someone is saying that some woman's husband is going to kill people because he caught her cheating. Anyway, we'll get into that later. That's pure sus, pure crazy sus. Good morning, Miss Morna. So yeah, it was. It was showing me. So I don't know. All right, all's well that ends well, as they say. Good morning, Miss Pat. So nice to see you. Yes, we're good to go. We're good to go. So, buenos dias, everyone. Let's get this show on the road. I feel like my camera finally got adjusted properly. I'm going to go see Miss Rocio later on so she can help out with the crazy hair look. Good morning to Lulu. So, we're slowly gliding into 2022. And I know a lot of you are optimistic that 2022 is going to be a very different year. So, big shout out to our YouTube viewers this morning. We've got 21 people on YouTube. Kind of a slow morning in terms of viewers. And this happens a lot as we ease back into the show. We've got about 84 people on Facebook. And we have a lot to talk about. So Atlas says, I've been on a break from media and you look different. So Atlas, you missed it where maybe it's been a few months now. I started using a little bit of a filter for my show. It's so funny because I can do all sorts of things, but it adds it gives me eyelashes, which is like the most important thing because then I don't have to get up in the morning and put on any mascara or anything. All I do is the lips, really. It gives me a little bit of blush, and then I think it does like some contouring or something as well. Kind of smooths me out a little bit. So it's like instant makeup, and I don't actually have to do anything except wash and moisturize in the morning. So it kind of works for me, to be honest. We went through it and I did some Christmas. I forgot I could have done more Christmas filters, to be honest, but I totally forgot to do a lot of the holiday ones. So there's some like, let me see for Christmas. We've got, there's this one. It's like, what's his name? Rudolph is back there and it's snowing. There's this one with the little reindeers. There's like the Santa Claus look. What? Santa Claus has tattoos? I'm not sure if you guys can see these in real time, but I think, like I said, there's always a little bit of a delay. There's this one with a tree on top of my head. There's this reindeer one. There's this one, which is kind of weird. I'm a giraffe wearing a Christmas outfit. All right, then. There's this one, which I don't know what that's supposed to be. Snow and hat. Yes, Atlas, these are super fun. Here's this one. It gives me lips and a hat. This is Christmas trees, which is kind of weird. Ooh, I'm the ice queen. Ooh, I can get used to the ice queen look. Yes. This one is snowy winter. So there's tons of these fun ones for Christmas. Some are obviously better than others. This one is snow eyes and frosted hair, obviously. But kind of my default one, it's actually called Cutie. This is it. This is Cutie. That's kind of the one that I normally have on. So yeah, these are fun. And I don't pretend to be wearing any makeup except for the lips, like I said in the morning. It's a filter. Modern technology. Is it not wonderful? And I have a new, oh my gosh, I have a new Stream Deck as well, which I got for Christmas. And what the Stream Deck allows me to do is it allows me to like do keyboard shortcuts for like a lot of stuff. So it's kind of fun. Like tech wise, I'm gearing up for 2022. So I can like change my view. I can mute my mic with the touch of a button instead of like fumbling on the screen to find it. So I'm still trying to get used to the keys that I have available. And I have an air horn. Remember my air horn? I used to have this. And so I'm adding some of my audio stuff back as well. So I do have an audio system. It's a modulator. And I'm going to be adding some of those. Let me see. I'm going to be adding some of those into the show as well. It just sounds like, here's a sad trombone. Can I hear it? Oh, I can't hear that one. Anyway, I'll be doing a bunch of these. And I can actually add them to my keyboard. So good morning, little miss. I think I need to restart this app though. All right, so let's get the show on the road. Damien says, wow, the symbolism. What symbolism? Miss Pat, good morning. Okay, so we've got a lot to talk about, and I feel like we should start with some of the local stuff in terms of, the discussion that we have been having as it relates to board members. This conversation, this is a conversation that keeps on giving. Like, I was actually done with this conversation, but I feel like other people are not done with this conversation. So this conversation keeps going. So give me a quick minute now that Little Miss is up. I know she's going to want some breakfast. So let me get that sorted out in terms of what she wants. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then we will be back to discuss this. I'm done with it, but I feel like other people are not done with it yet. So I'm going to say kind of my final piece on it, and then hopefully we can all move on from there.
Have you been procrastinating on your Christmas shopping? You'll have until December 17th to get all of Santa's packages to the Aeropost offices in Miami. Aeropost professional and dedicated staff are working around the clock to ensure your goods are in Cayman and available for pickup at your offices. Don't forget our industry-leading shopping and delivery portal keeps you in the know about the status of your packages at any given time. Aeropost, Christmas shopping and deliveries made easy. Tis the season for big deals at Small Deals Outlet. Visit us for the latest gadgets, small electronics, phone cases, cables, and so much more. Small Deals Outlet specializes in all 2021 trending stocking stuffers like portable Wi-Fi routers, office desks and chairs, straightening hairbrushes, earbuds, and charging cables. Visit us today in the Thompson Building or conveniently order online at smalldealsoutlet.com and have it delivered to you. Tis the season for big deals at Small Deals Outlet. Call 746-7054 for more info.
Ho, ho, ho! I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Don't make it a blue Christmas by delaying on ordering your propane for that Cayman beef and turkey. Be like the 3 wise men who rode through the night and prepare for the 12 days of Christmas. Hark! Propane makes all the herald angels sing. Feliz Navidad! Contact Home Gas early for your Christmas propane order at 949-7474.
Mama, maybe cereal with milk. Maybe maybe cereal with milk.
Okay.
'Tis the season to get all your stocking stuffers at Small Deals Outlet in the Thompson Building in Central Georgetown. We have some awesome specials on for Christmas, including fashion handbags, kids' bubble handbags, headphones, dancing cactus, and face shields. There are too many fantastic novelty and unique gift ideas to mention. Stop by today and visit us or browse our online catalog at smalldealsoutlet.com. Call today for any questions at 746-5072.
All right, folks. Sorry about that. I think I told you guys little miss was out of school last week and this week. And so she is here with me a couple more days. She goes back next week. So this is all part of being a parent. You all know how it is. Sometimes you got to take them to work. So let me get her situated here. She's got cereal. All right, so she's got her cereal and she's got something to watch. So I think she should be well occupied now. Thank you. Okay, so like I was saying, I kind of feel like I'm done with the conversation about the boards, but other people just keep, it's the discussion that keeps on giving apparently. So let's talk about it. So Damien, no, I had to take a quick little commercial break to get Miss Gianna sorted out. She just got up and she's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, well, why don't you sleep in? You know? So anyway, in case you missed it, we did a story about the board, the transport board, putting on a board member who has a conviction on a board for theft, basically. It was obtaining property by deception and something else. There was multiple charges because he did it to not one person, but multiple people. I kind of feel that there's a couple things here that are worth clarifying, right? The minister came on and the minister addressed it. And he said that, you know, he essentially believes in second chances. And that's why he wanted to put this gentleman on board. Okay. I believe in second chances too. I just don't believe that we had an editorial submitted yesterday. I don't believe that you put the fox back in the hen house, regardless of second chances. I think second chances can present itself in many different forms. A second chance doesn't have to be a second chance to do exactly to be in the position of where you were before. To me, that's not a definition of a second chance. That's a definition of stupid. I'm just saying, right? So we did the story. Other media obviously did the story as well. And I've noticed that a few of you have gotten in your feelings about it. I saw Linford Pearson put up a comment on his Facebook page saying that, you know, he felt a way about it and he thinks that it's wrong that this was brought up. And it got me to thinking, in addition to the editorial that went up yesterday, there's a couple things that it made me think about. The first thing is, I think it's so incredibly interesting how we are so quick and willing to forgive certain people in our society and not others, right? So if you are a man, I'm going to break it down for y'all. This is the category of people who almost get a carte blanche check where they can just do whatever they want and they're going to be easily forgiven. If you're a man, if you are part of society, what I mean by that is you're not a nobody. Because let's be honest here. We live in a society where we're all ranked in one way or the other, right? So people know your name, they know who you are, they know who Edlin Miles is. Before this happened to him, oh, he's 60 years old, he's been around the block, he was big up in UDP, he was big in politics, he was this, he was that. I think more recently he was a PPM man. I don't even know in terms of political affiliations, but he's been all over politics. He was president of the Music Association. He was this, he was that. It's like this big to-do of who he was. Everybody knew who Edlin Miles was, right? So if you're a man and if you're somebody, you have connections, whether you're in Lodge, you're in Lions Club, you're whatever, you fall into this protected category of individuals. Let me be very frank and honest that if this was someone from Dog City that, had committed an offense, y'all would not be going to bat for this person in no way, shape, or form. And you know how I know that? Because every single day I sit here in a reporting capacity and I report about people and stories and situations, and I see who you all go to bat for and I see who you don't go to bat for. And I always think that it is very, very interesting how this happens. So when I see other men of that same caliber, the same age group, the same lodge men, the same, politically, what's the word I'm looking for? Politically aligned individuals, they've been in politics, they've sat on boards, they like defending each other. It really has absolutely no bearing on me whatsoever. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone this morning, but you guys know that I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth, just how it is. So I do think it's interesting, right? The way that we think about these types of situations and who the person is, that the person is likable, okay? In society, all of a sudden we're like, oh, well, yes, they should be forgiven. We got to give them a second chance. You know how I honestly feel about it? I'm going to tell you my honest to God opinion. If you grow up in Cayman and you have had the benefit of being a lodge member, if you had the benefit of even being a Lions member, because let's be honest, with Lions, you get this protection of, oh, that's my Lions brother. We're going to support him just because he's in Lions or whatever. You get to be in a clique. You come from a certain type of family in Cayman. I don't know that you should be getting all the chances and all the second chances in the world because you had more than the average person and you still managed to screw that up. They say with great power comes great responsibility. You're up in society. You're connected to the politicians. You could probably make a phone call if you were in financial straits, right? You don't have to go and steal from poor people. You could literally make a phone call and be like, Mac, can I borrow a little $5,000 from you? Who else do you think I'll be able to do that? You know what I'm saying? You have, because of who you are and how you're connected to people. I don't know what the difference is. Lodge, mechanics, I don't even know who these people are. I just know these are organizations that are networking organizations at best and something else at worst. But the point is, these people have connections and their connections allow them to have access to things in life that the average person does not have. And so with that, I would think that what are you stealing from poor people for? Like, to me, it just blows my mind. And now it blows my mind that people are trying to defend this decision. Now, you guys know Kenneth and I are friends, but to me, this has nothing to do with friends. I've said this before. If you're actually friends with someone, you're going to tell them when they're doing something wrong, when they're on the wrong path. If you don't care about that person and you're like maybe a frenemy, you're going to see them going down the wrong path and you're going to be like, keep sailing, honey. Good luck to you, right? You're not going to care. But I care about this for a number of different reasons. Number one, this is my country. It's your country. We need to take ownership. And we also need to take not just ownership, we need to take collective responsibility for what happens in this country. We all talk about, oh, we want a voice. Well, you got a voice. And when you have a voice, you have to make sure that you use that voice and you express yourself. And you speak up when you see something that should be going in a particular way. And this is, I cannot paint this with any other brush than this is wrong as wrong can get. And so likability, who the person is, that makes a big difference. So when I saw, Mr. Pearson defending this situation, or, we have to be about forgiveness. We have to be about, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, if I were Mr. Pearson, if I was Linford, I probably would not have said anything at all, because let us be very honest here. Linford was recently on a board. And again, this is we as Caymanians are not willing to be honest with each other. He should have been, with all due respect in the world, he should have been fired from that last board that he was on. He only got a pass once again because of who he is. He is Linford Pearson. He was a minister. He served as this. He's that. Anybody else would have been fired from off-reg a long time ago. Do y'all remember back in 2019, I think it was? CMR broke this story. Was it 2018? That Linford had threatened during a board meeting another board member with physical violence. For the rest of us, not only would that get us kicked off of a board, that would get the police called on us and we'd be facing charges in court. I'm just saying. Okay. I have been to court in relation to this donkey in West Bay, Mendoza, for telling him that somebody needs to F him up for what he's doing to the Adams family. And he's lucky that he lives in a place like the Cayman Islands. Those very words I have been in court for, because that is, what was the charge? Common assault or whatever. You see, that's what happens to the rest of us. We are held to a level of accountability, a certain standard. Other people get to do the most, right? Threaten people with violence in front of tons of other people, get minutes changed and rearranged and re-recorded, steal from poor people, and get second chances for sitting on the boards. The common person doesn't get that chance. And this is one of the things when, the minister was speaking last week, I observed with an interesting, I had to make a note about this. He said, in his case, he's been there and somebody gave him a second chance. I said, poor Kenneth. He doesn't even get it. Kenneth does not get it, that if this was him, if the shoe was on the other foot, right? Kenneth would be getting no second chances. Kenneth, let's be very, very clear. The second chance, okay, Mom, I'll turn off the AC. The second chance that you got was really... I'm wearing brown, Mama. This isn't black. The second chance that Kenneth got was a second chance largely by the people involved in the political process. So he talked about Alden giving him a second chance. Bro, Alden didn't give you a second chance. He saw that you were likable in the progressives, that you were on the ground, that you were working. People are like, boy, down in Central, down in Georgetown, Kenneth really pulling some strings. That's what this was all about. Remove that element from the equation. You think Alden would have been giving you a second chance? As a matter of fact, fast forward a little bit. When you were his political analyst and you saw the second chance that he gave you, he cut you off at the knees when you needed him the most. That's how this works. Who your father, who your mama is, who you be. So I see people making comments like, I've known Linford my entire life, and he was such a nice guy. And I grew up with him, and I know his mama and his daddy, and they're such good, not Linford, sorry, Edlin Miles. And they're such good people. And I'm thinking, boy, as Caymanians, we kind of fool as fly, So we're still stuck in this mentality where it's like, what your parents were is who you are. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it helps if you have good parents. And yes, we all judge people based on where they're coming from. So we're going to judge certain people because, oh, their parents are crackheads, their mama was a prostitute, she not no good. All of a sudden, you're now looking down on the product, the children of that parent, despite the fact that they might have a very different mindset, a different outlook. And that is equally as unfair as giving someone the benefit who hasn't actually earned the benefit of anything in life just because of who your mom is and who your dad is. So I have been a little bit perplexed and confused by the entire situation. Not to me, none of that matters here. It doesn't matter who he is. It shouldn't matter who he is. It shouldn't matter who his mom is, who his dad is, who he's for. I don't care. And in fact, in my brain, it's the opposite. It's like he had all of this and he still managed to screw that up. Stealing from poor people. The insult, it's like taking that little bit of salt and sticking it in the wound and rubbing it. Poor people. He wasn't stealing from the rich. He was not a Robin Hood. He was not stealing from a bank that you could say, boy, you know what? They got countless money. They can print money. They can do whatever. That wasn't this situation. The other thing I recognize is I said to myself yesterday, and I said it to someone else, I can't remember who. I said, you know what? As Caymanians, I know that we don't like to read. There's a saying that if you want to hide something from people, you stick it in a book, especially people of color, because y'all not gonna read. So most of you have no clue what actually transpired. And so before the story was even written, it was imperative for me to have a look at least one of the judgments, right? And I want to share bits and pieces of that judgment with you guys this morning. So good morning. Says Leslie, they wouldn't be given access. No. Good morning, Miss Brenda. She says, Sandra, can you say lodge? Now, listen, I don't even know if Mr. Edlin's a lodge member. But I do know that in the Cayman Islands, we have a good old boys network and they look out for each other. So whether they're official lodge members or not, I think lodge is one way in which they look out for each other. And I know this for a fact, right? But whether they're lodge members or not, they are there to look out for each other. And I'm going to talk about, by contrast, someone else, which is Mario Rankin. He's a host of another program. And I'm going to talk about how the two men were treated very differently. And I want you to tell me why. Damon says, then again, world leaders have done worse atrocities like drug running, adultery, murder, war crimes, etc. I do not agree with Kenneth with this decision, but they're still free and accepted. Yeah, but here's the thing. That's not the standard that we're aiming for here, right? So I get it. I get that there are people out there who are far worse than this and they're still walking free. That's not our standard. It should never be what we're looking at as a standard to aspire to. Siobhan, good morning. She said, look at the young lady who went to prison for similar type of action. She was given 9 months in prison. She has 3 children who were left behind. I find his actions are egregious, as he has a history littered with financial irregularities. That is something else we're going to talk about here in a second. Thank you, Siobhan. Yes, ma'am. Okay, you're soon warm up. Why don't you go get your blanket? He has a history littered with financial irregularities. That mother does not. And I hope that all the supporters of Mr. Edlin, including the Minister of Tourism, ensure that she's given the same opportunities at a second chance as Mr. Edlin. Girl, that will. Sanya says, I'm sorry for us. Why Transport Board? It has... that's enough problems now with people on it that don't know a crap about how the transport system works. And he has many convictions. And to be honest, Sandy, it seems that do wrong and you'll be exalted to higher level. I'm totally ashamed of some things the administration has done. That's an interesting perspective, that do wrong and you are rewarded. And I think that is a real message that, is being sent to people as well, right? Let's be honest here, folks. A lot of people say, if you want to find a job in Cayman, you know what you must do? Go steal from somebody. You can be an upstanding, qualified person, degrees, whatever. Nobody not gonna hire you. You want to find a job, go steal from someone, then all of a sudden you're employable. It's a little bit of an inside joke, but there seems to be an element of truth. Okay, Miss Darlene, message me later on. I've got some in the car. The second chance afforded to Kenneth was the voters, not Alden. Thank you, Siobhan. That's what I was saying too. In fact, exactly what I just said. Alden left him high and dry after he was arrested. Yes. And in Kenneth's case, Kenneth was arrested for trying to help someone. Now, does Kenneth have a past? Yes, honey child. Every saint got it. What is every saint got a past and every sinner got a future, whatever. Yes, we are well aware of his past. His youthful and stupid past, right? To me, when you have had a life full of opportunities and you end up doing this kind of shenanigan in your 60s, that speaks more about your character than when you do stupid stuff in your teens and early 20s. When you're still trying to grow up, when your brain physically is still underdeveloped. This is the cold hard truth. So, Jared, I see you. I still don't get to you, honey child. Let us have a look at the actual conviction, huh? Because again, people are speaking on this who've never bothered to read the judgment. They weren't even hardly following the case when it happened. They don't know what went down, and yet they want to have an opinion. We all are entitled to an opinion, but I think you should have an opinion on something once you actually have the facts, because the facts are important. Yes? All right. So this is the judgment. And I'm going to try to see if I can find the Court of Appeal judgment, although they dismissed this case. There probably wasn't much to say, but I'm going to see if I can find it. This is the actual judgment of the Honorable Justice Henderson. So he was still, on the bench at the time. This is June of 27th of 2014. The DPP's office, Trevor Ward and Laura Manson. Ben Toner, he could go get himself a big fancy lawyer, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure he still owes that lawyer money to this day because the lawyer ended up suing him for non-payment. We'll get into some of those here in a minute. And so the judge lays out the facts. He talks about, okay, folks, this is the judgment, right? The judgment is that Edlin Miles was convicted by a jury of 7 counts of obtaining pecuniary advantage by deception and of obtaining property by deception. These charges encompass 3 transactions. So, folks, let me make sure that you understand what was just said in that very first paragraph. This was not a one-off count. This was not, oh, you took from one poor little person. This was multiple victims and multiple transactions. And in fact, they left some charges on file. There were more charges, and they were left on file because I guess the DPP's office just couldn't be bothered to pursue them all. Again, if that was me and you, they would put a Darlene Oku in our behinds, and she would be pursuing us to the tilts. She would be demanding, like she did in my case, ooh, you've upset a certain person with a off-reg device, whatever, ICT offense, you need to go to jail. Do you guys understand the disparity that happens in the judicial system? Even the people that they will send after you and the type of case that they will create about certain individuals, it really does matter who you are. Okay? And this is unfair because then we turn around and we want to give these same people second chances. I'm like, really? They already got a second chance because anybody else who'd done this 6 months, they would have been sitting under the jail for at least a year. They'd be rubbing a year, 12 months. They would not have gotten 6 months. So I even thought that 6 months was nothing given the number of transactions and the number of offenses. Now to his favor, because he'd never been convicted of anything before, the judge justified the 6-month sentence. Okay? So it goes on to give in paragraph 2 a little bit of history about him. He's a licensed insurance salesman at the material time. I understand that he'd been selling insurance for a long time. Again, I don't know Mr. Miles from the Man in the Moon. I honestly do not. I don't even know if I've had the equivalent of other than a hello and goodbye conversation with this man. I don't know nothing about the man. He's not my friend. He's not my enemy. And I'm business, right? So it said in each case, he sold a policy of life insurance to a person who was an applicant for a government subsidized house under the affordable housing scheme. The deception was that he represented to each client, in effect, that they needed to buy insurance immediately. And in fact, they did not need to buy insurance until their application had been approved by the National Housing Development Trust and until they had obtained a mortgage agreement from an institutional lender. The total amount of the money obtained through his deception was $630 in the form of monthly premiums paid during the period when the insurance was actually unnecessary. Mr. Miles benefited from the deception because he was paid a commission, which was a portion of the premium payments during the first year. However, there's much more to this case than that. Mr. Miles was at the material time the deputy director of the board of the National Housing Development Trust. He also sat on its loan committee. Y'all see the conflicts of interest written all over the situation? Upon accepting the appointment to the board, Mr. Miles signed an agreement to abide by a code of conduct, which included a provision that he would not seek to use his office for personal gain. He was paid $200 per meeting for his services. In his capacity with the board, he had access to confidential information regarding these applicants and others. He was also one of the persons who decided which applicant would receive government assistance and which would not. There were several hundred applicants, but only 12 homes were available at the time of the offenses. Now, paragraph number 6, Mr. Miles obtained from a trust employee the private contact details for several applicants. Y'all paying attention here? So he actually went to an employee of the National Housing Trust, right? And as a board member, I'm sure if he wasn't a board member, they would have never in a million years given him that information. That's personal confidential information, right? Now we have, thank God, the data protection law. That would have been an extra offense. So he phoned the 3 victims and represented that he was calling from the trust. Okay. So not only do you just take money from people, but you set up this whole scenario where you go out of your way to do it. This wasn't like an accidental theft, This wasn't a theft where it was impulsive. This was a thought out and a laid out plan that happened over a period of some 12 months. Y'all need to wake up and smell the CMRT this morning. When you read the details, folks, you understand why, in my opinion, he should have gotten more than 6 months and why he should never in a million years ever sit on a board again for a period of 12 months. So he got people's confidential information. He turned around, and contacted these people, said he was calling from the trust, right? He was actually, as the judge says, calling in his personal capacity to attempt to sell insurance. He said in his evidence that he was phoning to congratulate the applicants. So he lied on the stand. The jury didn't believe him because it goes on to say that although at the time they had not yet been approved by the trust and had not obtained mortgages. So he lies about, I was called to congratulate them. Congratulate them for what? They had not received. And in fact, here's the irony of it, right? Not only had they not been approved for a mortgage at that time, apparently they never got a mortgage. How ridiculous is that? Number 7, the jury found out as a fact that he conveyed to each of the 3 victims the clear impression. That the applicant had to obtain life insurance immediately rather than waiting until the approvals were granted. 3 victims accepted this representation as truthful, purchased policies, and paid premiums for a short period of time. None of the 3 applicants ended up with a house subsidized through the trust. All were in difficult financial circumstances and could ill afford to buy life insurance and pay monthly premiums. Wow. I'm going to stop there for a minute and have a sip of my water, child, because I have to digest what that really says. So here is a man who not only steals from the poor, but steals from the poorest of the poor. These people can't even go to the bank and get a regular mortgage. They're having to go through the National Housing Trust. He's in a position of literal trust. He's on the loan committee and he's deputy director of the trust. He obtains confidential information on victims, calls them up, lies to them about you need to get insurance right now, pretends to be calling on behalf of the trust, right? And why wouldn't they believe him? You're a deputy director of the trust. You have to buy insurance and you have to get it from me. Here's the form. Here's what you need to do. I'll make it easy for you. I'll collect your payments over 12 months. So let me understand this, right? Had he not been arrested at the time that he'd been arrested, how many other victims do you think there would have been? Let's talk about the possibilities of how far this fraudulent scheme could have expanded. The judge says all were in difficult financial circumstances and could ill afford to buy life insurance and pay fine. I mean, listen, I don't know how old these people were and whatever the situation is, right? But you know, life insurance is probably going to run you a couple $100. You're not going to get no policy for less than $150, $200, right? When you're in financial straits, that's a lot of money, right? When you're trying to secure a home, that's one more monthly financial obligation. Yes, ma'am. Okay, go get mommy the cream and I'll put it on. You know, that's one more financial obligation that you have to now meet every single month that you probably can't meet. Maybe these people were sacrificing paying a CUC bill on time to now be able to pay insurance. And the only reason why Mr. Miles did it was to earn their insurance premium. Now, it went on for 12 months. And I guess the $603 represents the premium during that time that he would have been paid out. All right, so here he is, 62 years old, high school graduate. He's been a life insurance agent for many years, has achieved considerable success selling policies. So even by the court's account, this was a man who supposedly is successful, right? He's been active in a wide variety of charitable organizations and has sat on numerous government boards. That alone to me, folks, says that honestly, once again, this man was in a position of trust and he should have known better given his age and his level of experience. Okay, mama, good job. She got an ant bite, so I gotta put some cortisone on it. So yes, here's someone successful, okay? Sat on numerous government boards. A large number of prominent members of the community, I don't know who y'all were, testified to his high reputation in Grand Cayman. He's a man of previous good character and no criminal record. I view that as a mitigating factor. My distinct impression from listening to his evidence is that Mr. Miles saw nothing wrong with his actions. Let us take a moment, folks, and pause on that one sentence. This was Justice Henderson. I'm going to repeat it again. My distinct impression from listening to his evidence is that Mr. Miles saw nothing wrong with his actions. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, somebody said he's also a notary public, so that hasn't been stripped from him. He does not appear to have been considered he does not appear to have even considered a possible conflict of interest or the strictures of the code of conduct. He denied making the false representation, but the jury did not believe his denial. So this is a man who has never, ever apologized for this behavior. In fact, so much so that he has gone to a point of appealing Justice Henderson's decision. He's never apologized. He's never admitted to it. Okay? The justice said that his distinct impression was he saw nothing wrong with it. This was a man who is living in denial. So his lawyer was asking for a community-based sentence. So then the judge goes into, the alternative sentencing law and why he thinks that the man needed to go to jail. He says he abused a position of trust or authority in relation to the victim. He had obligations to the public, which amounted to a public trust. He was obligated to refrain from using his position to seek personal gain. He was also obligated to vote on each application for assistance fairly without creating any bias or appearance of a bias. Because remember now, he has now put certain people in a position where they think that they have been approved for a mortgage. That's the only reason why you need mortgage-based life insurance. Otherwise, you don't need it. So what he said to these people is like, oh, well, yeah, you won't get approved, giving you a little bit of inside information. It says he was in a position of authority in relation to these three victims. That's why they believed him. Since his entitlement to receive commissions was dependent on the applicants being successful in obtaining approval, he created a bias, or at least the impression of a bias, when he sold the policies to persons whose applications were pending. The judge says this was an egregious breach, not just a breach, but an egregious breach of the code of conduct and a definite conflict of interests. He said this is a significant aggravating factor. You see that? Not just an aggravating factor. This is a significant aggravating factor. He did not declare to the board the fact that he had stood to benefit personally from the applications of these three individuals. And there was no evidence that he even refrained from voting on the applications. How much y'all want to bet he voted in favor of them getting a mortgage so he could continue receiving that money? And you see what it says here? That for him to have signaled that to the board, that means that he would have been in breach of the code of conduct. So there was this behavior of covering up that is significant. Right? It talks about theft, the case law, the UK guidelines, and so on. And again, folks, this happened over a period of some 12 months. Poor people. He had to pay them back the money. Poor things. Considering the community-based sentence, he said, regrettably, I am convinced that the need for general deterrence is a paramount concern in this case. There are many government committees, boards, and tribunals in this country populated with members of the community who are called upon to make important decisions with significant impact on people's lives. Some of these people are paid a stipend, as Mr. Miles was, and some are not. All must avoid obvious conflicts of interest and obey any code of conduct applicable to their official position. A non-custodial sentence would not reflect the seriousness with which an abuse of the public trust such as this is viewed by this court and by the public at large. And that's why he got 6 months. I think I missed somewhere in here where it talked about the period of the behavior being, it might not have been in this case, but it was a year, right? All of 2011, this man was carrying on this scheme. So when I hear my fellow Caymanians say, oh, we need to forgive, I said, absolutely. We're such a loving Christian society when it's convenient for us to be so. We'll put aside all of the non-Christian things that y'all do on a daily basis. The wife beating, the fornicating, the adultery, beating and molesting your children. Let's put all that aside. Let's say that, for argument's sake, we are a wonderful Christian society. And I'm asking y'all to take that with a grain of salt, right? Forgiveness is not the issue here. You forgive, but you do not put people back in a position for history to potentially repeat itself. Even if you have no concerns, folks, about history repeating itself. Say that the good minister had every faith in the world that Edmund Miles would never in a million years do this. You still do not put him on a board. It sends the wrong message. Now, let me talk about my friend over there, Mario Rankin, right? Everybody knows. I'm indifferent towards Mario and on a lot of levels, right? But I remember not too long ago, Mario was potentially, his name is floating around once this government got in for some board appointments. I'm going to tell y'all something. So there were people who were like, no, you can't put Mario on a board. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I had occasion to speak to the premier about this. Now, this is a private conversation, but I'm going to share it with you guys because I think, number one, it shows you how the premier thinks, how the government thinks, and how there is an inequality in the potential way in which these board appointments are being made. So I said to the premier, and I'm hearing a lot of rumblings about, I don't know that his name has officially been put forward, but I've heard rumblings about the planning board. I know if he didn't get planning board, he wanted to be an off-reg. There are things floating around out there that he was out there telling people, oh, I'm going to get put on the planning board, and then you can come and talk to me about your plan, your project, your development. And you don't do that. You see, that's the same sort of foolishness that someone like Mr. Edmund Miles, oh, I'm going to be in this position of power now on this board. Come and talk to me and let me see how I can kind of help you out. You don't do those things. And in this day and age, when you have an anti-corruption unit waiting on you to slip up, and trust me, they will go after you and throw you under, because this was never an anti-corruption case, This was the first case that they assisted with after they were formed, but this was actually not their case. This was an RCIPS case. And I feel like if it was an anti-corruption case, he probably would have gotten more time, right? But nonetheless, when you get put on boards, folks, you have a fiduciary responsibility. Whether you're signing a code of conduct or not, you better be careful what you're doing on boards, because you're going to end up in jail. Don't think that this position you can be doing people favor. You can be getting confidential information and going out there blabbering your mouth. You're going to get yourselves in trouble. And some of y'all are headed for trouble. Keep it up. Y'all need to be very careful, right? No one is sitting down having a serious conversation about what a board appointment means to people. So poor little Mario, now his name floating around. Mario's unemployed. He doesn't really have a job. He set up a company saying he's a consultant, whatever. There were people who were refusing to sit on a board with Mario. Other people whose names are being considered for the planning board said, I will not sit on that board if Mario Rankin is appointed to the board. Really? They were willing to resign en masse. Why? What makes, for the sake of argument, what makes a Mario Rankin different from an Edmund Miles? Because Edlin is in his 60s and Mario is in his 40s. Both have convictions for dishonesty offenses. Mario's was when he was younger. He said it was a youthful mistake, whatever. Like I said, that's maybe more of a believable situation. You're young, you're stupid. You're old, you're a thief. I mean, right? What's the difference? So why would the board members, the potential board members, be so up in arms about Mario? No. Oh, he has a reputation. He's going to tarnish us with his reputation. He's going to make this board look bad. Already he's making promises to people, developers, When I spoke to the premier about the situation, the premier said to me, Sandy, everyone in this country deserves an opportunity as a Caymanian. So I'm not, in principle, opposed to putting Mario on a board. Now, if someone can bring me something concrete as to why he shouldn't be on a board, then maybe that's a different situation. But he's a Caymanian, and he's a Caymanian with Caymanian children. Does he not have the right to have opportunities to support his children and be, a participating member in this society, just like everybody else? And I said, yeah. I mean, I can't argue with that on a matter of principle, right? Now, whether his contribution is on a board or not is a totally different question. But yes, he deserves an opportunity to contribute. Edlin Miles deserved an opportunity to contribute too. But you see, Mario didn't actually go on a board and get convicted of something while he was on a board relating to the board. That is, like, for me, the biggest difference here. This wasn't even, listen, like I said, dishonesty offenses in the eyes of the law are very, very serious. They're considered a breach of trust. And as we can see from the elections law, it's serious when it comes to running for elected office. So if a person isn't eligible to run for elected office because of a dishonesty conviction, why would you put that person on a board? The elections law says you can never run for office. Edlin Miles could never, no matter what he does, run for office because of this conviction. Why put him on a board? Jared, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Andy. How are you?
Oh, child, we got some comments here. Atlas says, I believe that's nearly always a what's in it for me when it comes to inner politics. Damien says it's the mindset and principle. Good morning, Mr. Osman. Can you put this out on your airways this morning? This lady, Victoria Dangenram, cost you less. Her wallet, what? Oh, left her wallet. Castle loss? I think that's the name. Lost her wallet price right yesterday in the handicap driving. It has her ID, bank card, and some money in it. Okay, so anybody knows Victoria Dangewan, something or other. Mr. Osmond, send me her full name properly on WhatsApp. Oh, you're looking for it. Please, if someone finds it. Oh, I see. She's lost her wallet. Okay, I thought you had found it. Okay. But send me her name and stuff, and I'll put up a message. Siobhan says, but in Kenneth's case, the people he would be serving knew of his past and still elected him. It's not the same for board appointments, not to mention the board. He'll be serving the public again. This is like putting a crackhead in the crack house. He can have a second chance doing something else. And I agree with that as well. Now, listen, since the story has come out, buenos dias, Miss Alba, estoy bien. Yes, the level, this is why I wanted to read some of this, because I thought that this was really, really important. Now, here's the thing, right? Since the story has come out, there have been people who have contacted me about the situation. I want to read some of their comments. So this person says, I totally agree with you in your position with having Edlin on the transportation board. He's okay people to chat with. But when you're convinced people, when you've convicted people of fraud, he shouldn't be on any board. The sad part is, like you said, why do we continue to put these people on boards time and time again? He's one of many people that shouldn't be there. I'm with you on this. By the way, when he was on the housing board, he undermined me with a bidding process and gave the work to a friend of his. Now, that I will put the word allegedly at the end. We have no evidence to that. Would I be surprised by that? No. This is part of what happens with these board appointments. Sometimes it's not even like the person directly is going to get a kickback, but, oh, my friend, I'm going to give my friend this job, yada, yada, yada. And then your friend will give you a kickback. You know, there has to be a level of transparency, folks. The person goes on to say he shouldn't be in that position again. I'm with you. Somebody else said, let's not forget that he was part of the Music Association for how long? And how did that organization turn out? That was also always a cluster situation. Ms. Sue says, it's just downright wrong decision by Kenneth, or because he's lodge member, he should never be given this board position. Now, I've had board members on the board contact me and say, what should I do? Should I resign from this board?
That is hard. It's hard because, all right, because if I recap it, if we look at why Kenneth is the minister today, it is because the justice gave him a chance. If the justice had said, we are going to record a conviction on you, Kenneth wouldn't have been able to run. So
Say
really,
that again for me.
so when Kenneth got into the brawl with
You're a
helping,
little bit low this morning. Speak up a little bit for
you
me.
can hear me? Huh? All right, let me just turn
Yeah,
up my
I'm
thing
having.
real quick. You can hear me now? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. The brawl that Kenneth had with helping that lady at that club and the police coming and all that situation. When Kenneth, remember, nobody was coming to Kenneth's aid at that time. And the member at the time, which was the premier, threw Kenneth out on the road hard and dry.
Mm-hmm.
And when Kenneth had to go to the court, I don't know if people understand the situation that Kenneth was in. Kenneth was in a situation, the minister was in a situation where it's life or death, meaning he wasn't going to be able to get no money, he wouldn't be able to support his family. Now, because of the public outcry that was going on, when he a good guy, he trying. The justice, I don't remember the justice's name. He said, Kenneth, I think you going places. I'm not gonna record anything so that you can have a fair chance. The difference.
And here and there's some other differences here. To be honest, Jared,
Yes,
the
that's what I
the
agree.
former premier's decision to remove Kenneth, in my honest opinion, because I know
It's
a little bit about
political.
politics, right,
It's
and what
it
was
was
happening,
political.
had nothing to do with what was happening in court. He just used that as an excuse to get rid of Kenneth.
Yes,
This
and
was all about Alden was feeling that Kenneth was making more headway on the street than he was, because he was locked up in the glass house or government building doing whatever and hanging out at South Coast Bar. Kenneth
yeah.
was actually his political assistant. He was doing stuff on behalf of the premier at the time. I think he was premier, right?
Yes, he
And
was.
so,
Yes,
or leader, whatever he was. And so, he was making more headway with the people down in Scranton and Central and Dog City and this one and that one and whatever, that the premier wasn't even going to see those people.
yeah.
And he began to get word that, ooh, Kenneth is
He
gaining some
hot on the street.
traction,
Yeah, and and
in
and the,
areas where you should be out there working and gaining some traction. And so he said, well, he's got this case going on. Let me just fire him. That's the
and
easy reason. And this
yeah,
tainted his administration. The man had not even been convicted yet. And as
and
it turns out, as Jared just said, he got no conviction recorded.
the
And
difference
that was a different situation.
between
That was
the
not a theft. That wasn't something that was planned out and
yeah,
executed over an entire year. That was in the moment. He sees a woman being assaulted. He
and he
jumps
tries
in,
to help.
tries to help the woman.
Yeah.
The police jump in. Things kind of go, this is a very heightened
Sideways because the
situation.
police, as usual, don't assess situations
Yeah,
as they
that
should.
things go haywire. He might have pushed the police officer or whatever, trying to
Yeah,
help the
because
woman.
there's a lot of emotions going on in there. But what people need to understand is the intent. There was not a malicious intent in the minister's actions to deceive the public and
Exactly.
use information to to get personal gain. And people have to look at the moral ethics. And it is difficult. Yes, when you are someone who's supposed to have morals, but you're doing things which are wrong. The two
Hmm.
should not be synonymous. If you are a board member, the operandus morandi should be you review an application without prior knowledge, you assess it. If it's good, if it's bad, it goes ahead. If it's good, it goes ahead. If it's bad, you turn it down.
Yeah.
Any information that you gain from those meetings should not be disclosed outside of the meeting. That is the
Hmm.
issue people need to understand. And this thing about, yes, he's Caymanian, but you could get some other Caymanian to fill the position. That I don't understand that thing with the
Hmm.
PACT, and this is going to be recorded on the PACT's track record, because
Hmm.
if you are doing the same old dog tricks as previous
Hmm.
administrations, it's not going to work.
Yep.
It's not. It just look like what I would call rubber knees and two mouth. This is
Yeah.
what it is, a rubber knees two mouth situation. You cannot put people in at the detriment of your administration, because it's going to reflect on you.
And
my question,
let me address a few things that the minister said last week as well on the program. So he said that he was going to take personal accountability for this decision. This was his decision and his decision alone. He did not want this to taint the PAC government. Well,
he's a part of the
I
PAC.
think the minister missed this memo, right? This is collective responsibility, Kenneth. You cannot take responsibility for a decision alone without having it taint the rest of your government. Your government, PACT, has one letter in there, an A, which stands for accountability, transparency. What does the C stand for again?
People-driven.
People-driven.
What does C?
I can't remember what does C stand for. But whatever, right? Accountability is the one that stands out for me. That's why we wanted a different government. And so you can't say, oh, I'm going to fall on my sword if this decision goes bad. The entire decision is tainted. The entire decision is bad. And your government, from the leader all the way down, is tainted by this. This reflects poorly on the PAC administration. So you can't say, I will take responsibility for this solely. It's called collective responsibility for a reason. And it's not a good look. Now, there have been other mistakes with board members. There's the McLaughlin guy who owes how many $gazillion in pension. I think he may have been removed. There's been another individual who's in court on the cause list.
You know this
for having consumed crack. And these are members that you guys are putting on boards and you're not vetting them properly.
Yes. And
this is the problem. There has to be a systematic change in how people are appointed to boards. And this is what I hope, setting aside everything about Mr. Edlin Miles specifically and all these other cases, this is what needs to happen. There has to be a systematic change with how board appointments are handled, first and foremost.
Yeah, 100%. Because if your C stands for competent, by extension, your boards and appointees and the individuals that
they're the ones out there making decisions on your behalf and reflecting on you.
That don't make no sense. If we see this person is not competent, and I'm not hitting out the person because I don't know the person. I am just saying, as a young person, tell me how 2 + 2 make 4. If this not making sense. People driven, accountable, competent, and transparent. Listen, I don't know what to say. There's got to be a comedy show, and I don't know if the PACT is the comedian or they're the audience, because this is laughable. It doesn't make sense, and I understand it's politics that is happening at the end of the day. But what is Mr. Edlin Miles' qualifications on being the transport board? Selling insurance is not a requirement to knowing how to build roads and how to plan out roads for 50 years down the road. So it's a bit, I don't know. I would not want to allude to statements that would make a certain opinion, but it is this appointment is not reflecting the PACT's mandate. There are other Caymanians that can be put on the board. The same way on the go and look to find the same old people, and I should redact that. The same people is the same way on can go look at the high school students who graduated in their classes, high honors and whatever. Look at those young Caymanians who ran in the election and they didn't get a chance. And for certain reasons, you wouldn't want to put them in because of their political alignment. But look at those candidates. There were some young Caymanians who ran and didn't get in. Put them in and say, yo, this how it run. This what you need to know. So I am not going to accept that statement. From
and you know, Jared, tell me something now. You're a young person, right? And so you can probably expound on this a little bit more. And then I want to talk about people who say that I'm having this discussion because he's a Caymanian, because I definitely need to address that ridiculous statement. But as a young person, you will make mistakes in your life. You're still young. I'm assuming you're in your 20s, right? You're going to have a life full of mistakes, child. You're going to fall in love with the wrong people. You might even get married to one or two of the wrong persons. You will do things in life that you will sit back at, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And there'll be times in life when your character will be put to the test, right? So maybe somebody's going to offer you money to do something, and you will have to make a decision. Is this something that I want to do? What are the implications of this, right? And I suppose in life, you've been told, Jared, you will get second chances. You might screw up and people will forgive you and you will get second chances. But you may have also been told the opposite if someone was giving you the cold hard truth and honest with you. And they might have said, Jared, there's certain decisions in life that you may make that are irrevocable. You can't undo them. And the implications of those decisions are long-standing and will impact you for the rest of your life. And sometimes there are no second chances to get it right. There's no, oh, you screwed up with this. Let's erase this record. Let's do it all over again. The younger you are, I feel like there's always hope for you to turn your life around. There's always an opportunity for you to change and do things differently. But do you comprehend that there might be decisions in your life that if you make them, they will have a lasting impact?
Yes. I totally understand what you're saying. It's like when I was going for a job as a librarian assistant, and the question was, if one of your friends come in and they say, oh, I am the boyfriend of this girl, just give me their ID card. They asked me, what would you do? And I said I wouldn't give them the card because, according to the Privacy Information Act, you can't give information to someone that it's not intended for. Now, it's a very simple scenario, but it's very difficult because sometimes you have to really question yourself. Am I really doing the right thing? But there are some decisions that if you kill somebody, you go into jail. You cannot take that back. If you steal, you are going to jail. You cannot take that back. There are certain actions you have to really be careful. And, people who serve on boards, they need to understand the commitment, the level of integrity, what is expected of them. And I think if people actually read what is actually required to be on a board, they wouldn't be in this problem. And I think that's the issue, because you need to know what's going to be required of me, how many times do I have to present or be there, who are the people
and I
I'll
wonder
be
too
serving
if this isn't happening with board appointments, because I feel like not only does the process of how people get placed on a board should change, but also there has to be some training. Remember how JPs are always getting in trouble and always
for
mixing up
signing
themselves
off.
and something because they don't understand the JP law and what their roles and responsibilities are? I think that likewise, board members should get training because a lot of them have never been board members before. They don't understand the fiduciary duties. Maybe they don't understand the code of conduct that they're signing up for. Ms. Brenda asked about, this declaration. Would he have been dishonest in signing that? Well, Ms. Brenda, apparently, not every board signs that declaration. So again, there's this disjointedness about how this even happens. So some board members have to sign that because they're applying for the appointment. And let me be very clear about what declaration we're speaking of. Let me see if I can find it here. And then apparently on other boards, there's no such declaration to be signed. To me, that doesn't make any sense. There has to be a sense of uniformity across all boards. So there is an actual declaration that some board members, not even board members yet, but if they're interested in sitting at a particular board, they have to sign. And guess what shows up as one of, I think, 3 or 4 things that is on that declaration? It's that you have not been convicted of a dishonesty offense. So let me show you guys the declaration in case you missed it. Here it is. I so-and-so declare the following. Look at number C. Have not been convicted in the Cayman Islands or elsewhere, not even in the Cayman Islands, anywhere. So if he had gone to Miami and stole money and been convicted of a dishonesty offense, a fraudulent offense, in this case, on this particular board, he would have had to have declared it. And that would make him a persona non grata for that board. So how can it be that in one instance you're unfit for a board if that's the case, and then in other boards you don't even sign this declaration? It makes no sense, people. Have it make sense, because it really doesn't. This should be the standard across the board. And you see how seriously, again, they take that offense, right? They take it so seriously that it's not just this jurisdiction, any jurisdiction. It would make you unfit to serve on a board. Now, here's something else that I hadn't thought about until this person submitted the editorial over the weekend. They said, what about the fact that he is now a politically exposed person? And we're talking about on the international front, right? The international, Jared, I'm just going to pull you out for a quick second. The international, world viewing us with all of we're always tainted money laundering this and money laundering that. And, the Cayman Islands, bunch of fraudsters and yada, yada, yada. What message does it send when we have people like this sitting on boards, the international community, compliance, and all these sorts of things? So that there's certain things that you could do that would preclude you from ever being a director of a company. You would not be considered a fit and proper person. So if you applied to be a director, especially for exempt companies and so on, SEMA would say, oh no, you can't be a director. And there are people who have had that ability stripped from them where they cannot be a director. The SEC would say, nope, you can't be a director. So there are decisions that have lifelong consequences. That's life. Now, let me address one element of this that I thought was kind of interesting. So people have said, if this was an expat, nothing would be said about this. Now, y'all know y'all smoking some serious crack. Whoever has said those types of things, because that is a ridiculous comment, first and foremost. And it certainly does not apply on CMR. I don't know what other platform you're talking about, but that does not apply on this platform, okay? We are an equal opportunity, hold them all accountable kind of platform. So much so that the Jamaicans have claimed that we hold stuff against them harder than anybody else. The Caymanians have claimed that. Sometimes our Filipino friends have claimed that. We don't care where you're from, to be quite frank and honest. And the only reason we ever mention a Jamaican national, it's just an explanatory point to let you know where the person's from. Because I have people messaging me like, that person lives in West Bay, but are they West Bay or who they family to, whatever? And so I'm like, listen, let me just break it down. They grew up in St. Mary. They grew up in Clarendon, Jamaica. They grew up in New York or whatever. So we just give you a description of who the person is, where they're from, right? But to say that CMR is attacking Mr. Edlin Miles because he's a Caymanian and we don't report on any foreigners or we don't hold people accountable, like I said, anybody who says that must be smoking some high-grade crack, the worst of the worst kind, because that is simply not true, right? That's ridiculous. Oh, this crab in the bucket mentality. What crab in what bucket? In order for you to even use or deploy the crab in the bucket mentality, that means that somebody would have to be jealous of Mr. Miles or hold something against him. Nobody will hold nothing against him. His conviction is what this is all about. This isn't personal in no way, shape, or form. Like I said, I don't even know the man. I know nothing about him. As a matter of fact, I always feel like I confuse him with another Miles. I think a few of them kind of look very much alike. And I don't know if they're brothers or cousins, but I believe this one drives an older model, almost like a classic car. But again, I'm not even sure if that's actually him. So I don't know the man. What crab in the bucket mentality? This isn't about that. So when we report on the Canadian thief absconding on a private jet to Canada and arrested by the FBI, was that not arresting? Did we not spend an entire show talking about him? When we've talked about the numerous Jamaican thieves from, the Tortuga robbery to the hair salon, the nail tech girl, to the one who worked A.L. Thompson stealing money or taking money from the dentist and not paying him back I've lost count of how many of them we've had to talk about. When we have featured specific shows about Filipino thieves on this program, which we have, speaking of which, one is coming up for sentencing soon, and we'll be reporting on that as well. Don't accuse me of being an anti-Caymanian person, of hating my own, of only reporting on this because it's a Caymanian. That's 1,000% incorrect. And it's actually very stupid. It don't make no sense. That's not what this is about. And when you have to get to that level, and I'll bring Jared back into the conversation, but When you have to get to that level of the conversation, right, where you're like having to pull on straws as to why we even covered this story, this is where now you know something is definitely wrong with the situation. You're not finding a good logical argument to explain why this decision would have been made. That'll make no sense. You show me how I have reported any differently on this case than I would have any other case, regardless of where the person is from. Jared, am I reporting unfairly on a man because he's Caymanian?
I don't think so. But what I will say, it starts from the top. You know, if our boards, if our parliament does not have a code of conduct, how can we expect our boards to really even follow suit? Mm-hmm. So to the administration of people driven, accountable and competent and transparent, we are waiting for that code of conduct. And I do expect that once that code of conduct is implemented, that the boards will have a code of conduct. Because you see the thing, FOI going to happen. And someone is going to have to FOI why there isn't. And what is the process? How do people apply? Because if you ask anybody on this thing, how do I become a board member? Nobody knows. So this thing about helping Caymanians, if you're not providing the information clearly so that, you know, any Caymanian can go and apply to be on the board, how people going on? So something wrong, and something adding up. So I don't take that.
All the way back in 2008, and I think it was because of the off-reg situation, I wrote an editorial about board accountability and how boards are appointed. And that every single thing that was said, I'm trying to find it now. Every single thing that was said in that editorial stands true today. There has to be some degree of accountability for board. Let me show y'all something, right? When I search on the CMR page, I search the term accountability because I think that might help me find it. What are some of the things that come up immediately? UCCI. Now that's a big disastrous lack of accountability there. Look at this guy. No accountability for agency staff. Y'all remember him? I had even forgotten about him. This is one of our first stories because we got started in June of 2017. I was the only person reporting on this fella here, Corey Martinson, then acting deputy information commissioner and senior appeals and political analyst for the Cayman Islands Information Office. 5 criminal charges pending in the court system. And I was asking, why is he still in the job? And mind you, none of these were for theft. So here we were asking the question, why is he still in the job? He's pleading guilty to damaging a police vehicle. How is it that none of these things, let me see if I can increase the font. I'm like, how is it that none of these things, are holding him accountable? The man has not been suspended for what, like nothing has happened. We were the only ones talking about this. And as a result of this and the multiple follow-up stories, he was finally let go from that position. Well, thank God his contract was not renewed, right? Accountability. The Public Accounts Committee was saying, remove Linford Pearson. So am I surprised when I see Mr. Linford defending Edlin Miles? No, because I look at a story like this and I just shake my head and I said, the good old boys network is at it again, right? Here we go. No standards in public life because of political expediency. This is the original article back in November of 2018. Hiring and good governance accountability. Again, Ezard Miller was asking the question, where is the accountability? You know, it's just like article after article after article, folks, all about accountability. We need accountability on boards, and we certainly need accountability politically. And as Jared just said, we are still waiting for this government, and I have to hold them accountable, to produce this code of conduct. We are now some 8-9 months.
Yes, because this is showing that they're compromised in that, because the people are going to point and say, well,
doing other stuff, and I get that we're in the middle of
they're important
the code of conduct was supposed to be a priority for this government.
Yeah,
and we should have it.
Yeah, I do expect it, because it's not making sense.
Lollipop for breakfast, child, please. That would mean I'm not an accountable parent. You're not getting no sweets today, actually. Cross it off your list. Have some water. This tastes like a lollipop. It doesn't?
Yeah, because to add to your statement, Miss Sandy, when I am overseas and I tell people where am I from, you know, people say, "That's not where they hide money and all," and I say, no, 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 no. This is we're good at doing business. So if you want to do business in the Cayman Islands, come to Cayman. There is that opinion out there internationally and publicly because of media and movies that Cayman is where people hide their money. And if y'all didn't realize that in Cayman, that is what the public opinion is out there. One, it is not good for the tourism product, right? So we need to really mitigate this and nip it in the bud because it's not good. And I noticed, you know, certain people are very quiet. I'm not surprised that, you know, certain governors or the governor is very quiet about it, as he would deem it a personal matter. But he needs to push it and say what is going on because it's not good.
Yeah. So Ms. Brenda says that maybe the other board members should have told Kenneth that he couldn't do it. Well, here's the thing. It's not a situation where the other board members probably even knew who else was going to be appointed with them. And they don't have any say in that because they're not technically yet appointed. But now that they're appointed with him, they could make the decision to not sit any meetings until that is changed. And I mean, if I were a board member, that's exactly what I would be doing right now. Mr. Damien is saying that we need competent people on boards with experience and knowledge in that field. Well, that would certainly be helpful, right? Again, some of these board appointments don't really make any sense. Belika, good morning, says, great topic, accountability, forgiveness, and the balance. And again, I'm all for forgiveness. I am all for forgiveness. I just don't think that you put the fox in the hen house. And if someone has made a poor decision in one capacity, like had he been convicted of stealing from a bank, say he was at Butterfield Bank, you think CNB had turned around and hire him? I mean, no, he would be a persona non grata in all banks. That's just how it works. That behavior now precludes you from getting certain positions. So Ms. Brenda says the premier should make sure all members and potential members should have to sign it. The governor, yes, there has to be a level of, and I would really implore the PAC government now to implement some level of uniformity. If some board members have to sign that declaration, all board members should have to sign the declaration. It shouldn't be some sign it, some do this, some do that. Some apply for board, some are not apply, they're just appointed. Some get paid a proper salary, some get a stipend. Like it's all over the board in terms of how the process works. And it is very, very confusing. So Ms. Pat says, wow, so how are we going to have a better life if we don't forget the past and move on? To have young people on board to change their life and get experience, all of us make mistakes. Well, number one, it wasn't a mistake. So you don't take an entire year of deceiving people, stealing from people, getting people's confidential information, lying to them, lying to jury post that, getting convicted, appealing the case, not paying your lawyers. Those are not mistakes. Those are very deliberate decisions. So I really take issue with when we make poor choices in life and somebody says it's a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's a poor choice. Let's call it what it is. Every single morning we get up and we have to make choices about what we're going to do. Everything from our diet. Some of us trying to lose weight. We got to pick up that piece of candy. We got to eat a piece of cake or whatever. Those are poor choices. And guess what? Poor choices have consequences. Some are shorter term, some are longer term, but they all have consequences. Just like good choices have consequences as well. So he made a poor decision, series of decisions, not even a singular decision, over an entire period of a year. And again, this isn't about forgiveness, but I've noticed that Pat says that we should forget. Tell me something. How do you ever do better in life if you forget all of the experiences that you've had? That'll make no sense. So forgiveness and forgetting are two very different things. That would be like if I were in an abusive relationship, right? And I say, okay, I need to get out of this abusive relationship. I'm going to hold my abuser accountable. I'm going to make the right decisions and right choice for myself. I have to forgive that person for my own mental sanity and to move on with my life. But do I forget? You know what happens when you forget? Pat, with all due respect, when you forget, you end up doing the same thing over and over and over again. So forgetting the past and moving on, that's not what you do. You can forgive and move forward. And we're not saying that that shouldn't be the case here. But why does forgiving and moving forward mean that this man gets a board appointment? A man who's never even apologized or admitted to what he did. I mean, explain that to me. That you don't forget. If you went to court and everything in life is based on forgetting, they wouldn't look at your past, at your history. The other day I was talking about this woman who was convicted. What was her name? Is Rankin, who was convicted for theft. This is her second offense. Her first offense was back in, I think, 2011, 2012, or 2013. She was convicted for that, right? No thing convicted. She's actually had that potentially spent away. You know what the judge said? For the purposes of the court, no conviction is ever spent. A spent conviction, which means it's off of your record, is for the purposes of you getting a job, employment, or getting a travel authorization to be able to get a visa, whatever. When it comes to the court, we need to know about all previous convictions, because the court is looking for a pattern of behavior. And the fact that you have been convicted before for the exact same offense, just like this woman, the judge says this is a custodial sentence. This isn't your first time stealing from people. So the very judicial system does not operate on the basis that you forget a person's past. She got a second chance already. She got a suspended sentence, and here we are years later, and she's stealing from an employer yet again. So of course, the court is going to hold her accountable. Damien says work permit and resident demographics, Jamaica is the largest here, then the UK. Leslie says not just any conviction, it's the type of offense that's at issue. It's the type of offense for me and the manner in which it was done as a board member and the long, year of it being undertaken. It was a fraudulent situation. Good morning, Athena. Siobhan says CMR is an ecumenical abuser applied liberally. Will everybody get it? Yes. It's a broad brush, and we applying it to everybody. Same standards to everybody. Whether I like you or don't like you or whatever the case may be. Sometimes there are people that I have to report on that I like, people that are friends or friendly, I should say, right? And yes, it makes me feel bad that I have to report on these people, but it is what it is. I've had people say to me, oh, Sandy, I see you taking forever to report, but this woman owing me all this pension money. Why is that? Is it because you like her? And I'm like, child, it's just one of like 20 articles I'm working on. It has nothing to do with that. It's coming. That is my job. Marshall says, some people think that because you're a Caymanian, you should get a pass. I don't think so. What's good for one is good for all, no matter where you're from. And I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again. As a matter of fact, I am more insulted when a Caymanian breaks the law here in our country or even abroad, because you are a Caymanian. You are reflecting on us. There was a time when Caymanians, I remember many, many years ago traveling through Miami, there was a guy, what do you call them? The customs people. He's being trained. And as I came in and I said, oh, I'm from the Cayman Islands, the guy doing the training said, oh yeah, they're from Cayman. You don't have to worry about them when it comes to drugs or anything like that. You know how that changed? Honey, child, please. We lumped in with Jamaica, Trinidad, every other Caribbean country now.
Because when you go into US,
do the scanner, get at the drug dogs. But
everything.
Why? Because our people have been convicted of drugs, even putting drugs in baby diapers. Remember that case? We've had gun runners putting drugs in whatever in equipment and in the refrigerator, whatever. We have lost our innocence. We have lost our reputation because a few Caymanians have tainted that. So I am more insulted when a Caymanian breaks the law than when a foreigner comes here and breaks the law. Yeah. Because this is our country. We should be doing better.
And simply put, if the PACT didn't get the memo, we are not going to be accepting this person that has been put forward because we don't believe this person represents the four things that they're about. So if they could get somebody else, or if they would like us to say it again, please put someone else in and get this person in another capacity, as we're not happy with the choice. I know the minister is on his little trip, and I know he probably watching, but guess what? we are not happy with the choice. The same way we were not happy with the previous administration, and we were very vocal, and some of us put our lives on the line, and we had to do a lot of voicing and all of them things.
Yep.
There, Mr. The Honorable Premier, Mr. Panton.
Yes.
We are not happy with this choice.
Yes.
The young people are
Brenda
not happy with the choice.
My apologies, Brenda. I was misunderstanding when she said the board. She said that she was actually speaking about the other elected members stepping down. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
I now see the point.
Oh, yeah. She wants them to resign or
she
something.
She wasn't saying the board members. She was saying other.
Well, to be honest, if everybody on that board resigned, they are going to have to look for other people. And, this is an opportunity.
No, but she was actually saying elected members, the politicians, should be stepping down for this decision. But, I think that's a bit drastic. I think that they can pull Kenneth aside and have a word with him about this decision, and there could be ways of rectifying this. Because
you see, the thing is, if the PACT ain't watching the wavelength, the opposition are waiting for you all to make a mistake such as this for them to say, oh, well, boy, look at who they gonna go pick up now, so they're not really different from us.
Yeah.
And,
and people are talking about it. Let me show you a conversation here. Let me just see if I can pull this up, right? That this is actually in a group with hundreds of people. And this person, they actually referred to the CNS article, not the one that we broke, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It says, isn't there some sort of a law that says that people convicted of fraud can't serve on government boards? We seriously need more young people and brains on these boards. Yes. It's getting a bit silly. And then somebody else responds and says, is this serious? The guy is a crook. What is PAC doing? Well, familiar. Somebody else says, familiar. He's been VP of the Music Association Dumpster for 4 years. Came out as lawless. It's like the Wild West. I think we can do better, but maybe we just can't. Yay, us. And then somebody else says this should be called out loud and clear. There's a loss of credibility. So these are conversations, folks, that people are having.
And
in these, groups. And I can tell you one thing, although some people will stand up and try to publicly defend this and talk foolishness about, oh yeah, you just hating on him because he's a Caymanian. I think most other people recognize that is not the truth at all, that this is ridiculous.
Yeah, because
I'll forgive, but never forget.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie, I think Leslie makes a valid point here. Leslie says it seems he has a serious character flaw. Most complaints about him have the same type of moral flaw. And I think that is very interesting. And a point that we should take from this is that his issues, and like I said, we've looked at the cause list and we've seen other, not criminal to be fair to him, but civil cases in the Grand Court that date back all the way back to the 1980s. It all has to revolve around money. And an element of what seems to be financial problems, which will lead someone to defraud poor people and steal from poor people. So I agree with Leslie that there is a common thread that I see here that to me is obvious. Leslie sees it. Does anybody else see this common thread? It's pretty serious. And trust me, y'all hear me talking about Aunt Lottie and her pearls of wisdom. She said there is two people you should never trust in life, a liar and a thief. She says, as a matter of fact, they're the same. They're one and the same, right? She said a liar will send you to jail and not bat an eye. And as a matter of fact, I think she saw liars a little bit more egregious, although when you're a thief, there's an element of dishonesty in there, so you're a liar as well. But she said, depending on why someone steals. So if someone steals because they're hungry or whatever, right? That can be forgiven, that can be excused, that can be explained. But this type of fraudulent behavior and thievery, right, speaks to a person's character, in my opinion, like nothing else. Omar, good morning. How are you? You're a little bit late. She's saying the elected members should have objected to Kenneth's selection. Well,
I don't think they know
how much they understood, because I spoke to another minister and he said that he did not know that Mr. Edlin had a conviction. I was like, what?
Yeah, no. So we're not doing criminal record checks when people come to boards, or what?
Nope.
We're throwing certain things out
There has to
the
be,
thing.
and I know the premier has said that this is something on his to-do list, but he better expedite it. There has to be some sort of a selection committee that
Yes.
vets applicants and does a little checklist.
Because
No criminal record, no this, no that. Come on now.
Because
This is amateur hour.
this going to seem like a situation, and if they want to push it there, if we want to get the ombudsman in, we can do that. If you want a FOI, we can do that, and we can FOI and FOI till FOI out of style. But what we're simply saying, do it right the first time to avoid issues like this, because we elected you all to run the government. The people that you have on the boards, in essence and technicality, for lack of better words, they're defrauding the government, meaning they are imposing a lack of confidence. And I know the premier is a lawyer, so he should be well aware, adept, and in depth to what we are trying to say. And
Yes.
if you want proof, the court cases, get your little assistant to look through the court cases, get your political assistant. But I'm sure the premier is feeling the pressure, but has a lot of things on his plate. But he would need to, as what the previous administration leader was good at, he was able to look years down the line and try to make sure that it doesn't come to bite them back. That's what the previous leader was good at. And that is one thing the premier needs to take note of. I understand you're kind-hearted and you're good, but guess what? When you're running a country with 60,000 personalities, you have to be good at managing those personalities, right? And so the people that you put in on the boards, it will directly affect the administration. And guess what? Election is coming up very soon, and I will be recording this and watching it, and I will be bringing it back up, because there needs to be. I'm gonna need an explanation for this, because we're saying we don't want this person. We don't want this person. Choose somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, the irony of it is, I think sometimes politicians themselves think that they're going to keep getting second chances and third chances and fourth chances and, making poor decisions. And people are going to be like, oh, well, let's excuse this decision. And it's like, at some point, your defense of other people will make people question your character.
Integrity.
So Damon says, please don't let the C in PAC stand for crook. Siobhan says, an element of deception and defrauding. Miss Brenda says, my mom always said that you can guard for a thief, but not a liar. Child, these new fandangle thieves, you can't guard for them either. Siobhan says, the best indicator of future behavior is past relevant behavior. Let his record speak for itself. Miss Brenda also says that they were all aware. One said he was confusing him with Edlin Moore. Well, I don't know. The one I spoke to said, and I think I actually sent him the record of what we were talking about. And he said that he was not aware.
Yeah, and that's funny, because if that minister said that they did not know, or whoever said that they did not know that this person have a conviction, it would either mean that whoever selected the person did not do a background check, and by extension, by doing.
Well, I'm sure that the minister has said that he was aware. He was aware. And so my question says, it was someone forwarded it to me, and they said, so Edlin Miles was on the board and spent time in jail in relation to that board for corruption, and now rewarded with an appointment to another board, WTF. I sent this minister this, and he said was not aware. And I said that he was on a board or that he served jail time. So I'm trying to clarify what he was not aware of. And he said he was not aware that he had gotten jail time. So just to be fair to that minister, he didn't say that he wasn't necessarily aware about the conviction. He was unaware of the jail time. Now,
okay, they breach one. You're not supposed to. You can't be convicted and be on a board. So you are aware that this person is being convicted. You are aware that this person is breaking the rule, and you are aware that you are taking a risk. And as such, we will hold you to that risk, because it's not making sense.
Yeah. So this other person has said this morning. Let me just show you guys this one. Because I think this is very, very interesting. Because again, other people are looking at their own children and others who are incarcerated and have made their fair share of mistakes. And they're like, is my child going to be given the same opportunity? So this person says, funny how some people can be rewarded so handsomely for being a criminal and others are crushed for life for positive ganja consumption tests. Not advocating for criminals as Mutayed, but I'm sure my daughter and others like her not get employment after they're released from prison. They have done the crime and the time. Oops, sorry, they're not in the lodge or politically connected. And this seems to be a common thread that people feel when it comes to these types of decisions, that if you're not politically connected, like I said earlier, you're not in that, you don't hit that sweet spot of who you for, all this kind of stuff, you will not get the same opportunities in life. And this young lady, I'm aware of the situation. This is someone who was convicted of a rather serious offense. But again, it was a dishonesty offense. It was robbery. Yeah. So, will she be given the same consideration as Mr. Edlin Miles? I don't think so. I bet when she gets out of prison, she's going to have a hard time getting anything, much less a board appointment. It's a hot mess. It really, really is. We had a lot of other things that I wanted to talk about today, but unfortunately this conversation, kind of took over. This is the last of it. I don't have anything else to say about this. I thought I'd said it all last week, but like I said, I kept seeing people, commenting on it and trying to defend this ridiculous behavior. And what I think happens a lot of times is we defend some of the most egregious and ridiculous behavior because, again, we like the person. It was like last week, someone sent me a message about that young lady, Kimberly, and said, why, you need to take this story down. Why do you have the story up about Kimberly? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's been convicted now of defrauding the people of the Cayman Islands, issuing driver's licenses to people who've not taken a written test, who've not taken a driving test. And we wonder why we have so many accidents out there. She was a public servant. Why wouldn't we report on this? Like, sometimes when people send me stuff like this, if you really want to know what's in my head and what I'm thinking, I'd be like, you go sit your ASS down. You're dumb. What are you talking about? But I try to be like, let me explain the logic behind why you report on court cases. Number one, anything that happens in court is open record. You can report on it. So we try to report on as many cases. Listen, if I could do nothing else but sit in court all day and let you guys know every single time there was a court case up and whatever, I would totally do that. But unfortunately, I don't have that kind of time. So I have to pick and choose. And some days it's just luck of the draw. Mm-hmm. Some days I just show up on the right or wrong day, depending on who you are. And I be seeing them people up in summer court. They'd be like, oh, God, CMR is here today. How did I get so lucky? It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And I report on what's fair. And there are cases that have a public interest for different reasons. Marshall says a thief and a liar are brothers and sisters. I agree. Miss Brenda's not buying it. She says not knowing is BS. They need to all be vetted. Siobhan says to get a blasted job, you need a clear police clearance. Yet you're making decisions for the country and we have no requirement for board members. Yes, people making decisions that impact the entire country. They aren't even requiring them in some instances to sign declarations confirming that they have never been convicted, etc., etc. So Christ, make it make sense. I can hear that in her little voice now, Siobhan, I could not agree with you more. Belika, we were just saying that. He says some legislation for specific boards state that if you have a conviction of a certain type, you cannot serve. Well, we showed this declaration, and I can't remember what board this was specifically, but here's such a declaration. Look at number C. You can't have been bankrupt, no personal or pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in his sectoral utility. Well, this must have been off-reg. Maybe this was off-reg. Not otherwise unable or unfit to discharge the functions of a member. But look at number C, conviction. And I mentioned it before, not just in this jurisdiction, but in any jurisdiction. That's important. Jared, someone says this young man is brilliant. He has an excellent future.
And if people forgot about it, as a Caymanian, your individual right is to stand up for, the liberties and freedom that we all enjoy. So if we see somebody infringing on it, or should I say, I wouldn't want to use freeloading because that would be a very strong word. But if we see somebody manipulating, you have a right to say to your government. And Georgetown Central, I might put some pressure on it to say, tell the little MP representative, say, that they're not going to cut it. I don't know Georgetown Central to be like that. I know the good Georgetown, because I'm from Georgetown. I'm in another member's area, but that don't matter. But come Georgetown Central, say to your good minister, say, can it come now?
You know what is so crazy, Jared? I see some of the people who are defending this ridiculous behavior, they themselves have been victims of the system. Civil servants who've been victimized and who there's so much favoritism in my workplace and this one doing that. And so then when I see them defending this, I'm just like, you do realize that this is from the same cloth, right? This is part of the same problem that you yourself are constantly complaining about. So now you want to excuse it because you like Mr. Edlin. But if it was a Jamaican who was doing this kind of behavior or whatever, you'd be the same person. You'd be the first person to message me. Oh, this guy was allegedly stealing a phone or whatever, and now they hired him at prison. How is this any different? You understand what I'm saying? So again, we need to remove this element of, oh, I like the person, or the person's a Caymanian, or they're a Jamaican, or they're Filipino, or this or that. And somehow that differentiates how we look at the situation. Forget all of that. It doesn't matter who they are, where they're from, none of that. The principle, the core principle, a thief is a thief and a liar is a liar. And as Marshall said, they're intertwined with each other. They're almost like twins, brothers and sisters. And so if you want me to call out the thief who gets hired at Fairbanks, allegedly for stealing a cell phone, or I can't remember what he did exactly, right? And he ends up getting fired and losing his job for that, then why am I not calling out Edlin Miles? Why am I not calling out a Tutu Barnes or whatever just because they're my family? I have business with that. I simply do not care. Malika says, great, you do your research. Thank you, my dear. Well, guess what, folks? We are officially out of time on the program today. So much so that tomorrow we will try to look at some of the COVID stuff. There's a lot happening in the world of COVID. Domestic travel, vaccinations being considered by the U.S., a new daily record being set by the U.S. for COVID infections. They have actually reduced their COVID isolation period, not because this variant is necessarily any better or worse or whatever. It's just because they've had so many cases that they feel like they have no choice, because otherwise they'll have nobody left in the workforce, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Canada is also considering a similar move. So we're going to look at some of those things. We're going to look at cruise ships. So maybe tomorrow will kind of be an Omicron day, and we'll talk about some of that. Jared, thank you so much for always being willing to jump in. Always happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. Have a good one.
All right, my dear. Very good, Jared. We have, and by the way, Jared's in Canada. I didn't realize that until the other day. So Perla, thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. Miss Brenda, thank you. Yeah, I mean, listen, no one should think that anything that we're saying here is personal. And I think that that's where people get a bit caught up in their feelings, is they want to believe that our comments are personal. Like I said, I don't know the man from the man in the moon. It doesn't matter to me. None of that's important. I think we just really need to focus on the issues. And I feel like a lot of times the issues are missed because we're not even delving into any of the details of what is transpiring. I think that that's really, really important. So Larry, we'll talk about that tomorrow. And yes, Louis, we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. All right, good folks. Please enjoy the rest of your amazing day. Today is Wednesday, December the 29th. We've got 2 more years in 2020. So I think that on Friday's show, which is the 31st, we should definitely talk a little bit about what our goals and objectives are for 2022. We're going to be that close to it. God's willing, we will all make it into 2022, folks. And so let's talk about it. You know, what are some of your goals? What are your objectives? What are you hoping to accomplish in your own life, whether it's your professional goals, your personal goals, you know, something. Quarantine be over. I need a good apartment. Oh gosh, I don't know what to tell you about that one, Perla. It's a hot mess, but we'll talk about it on tomorrow's program. All right, good folks. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning into the program. I appreciate you all making this Cayman's #1 talk show. I'm so excited that hopefully, subject to final arrangements that come February, we will actually be looking at, I've already done that, Miss Brenda. I'll message you. You're good to go. We will be looking at going on air like a regular radio. Now, I think most of you will be tuned in here, but that just means that we'll have a broader reach and more of an audience. So Mr. Tommy says, that's why I watch CMR. It's a cold, hard truth. And that's what it is. Now, I need to do a new intro. Louise says CMR is #1 always. 2022, I need to do a new show intro. So I'm already thinking of some ideas. If you have any ideas at all that you want to shoot at me, please do. I'm excited to hopefully get that underway soon. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I love a new year because to me, it gets your mind thinking about resetting your goals and all that good stuff. Anyway, until tomorrow morning, you guys have a beautiful day.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.